fall over.
Okay. Readers, have you ever heard someone read a story in a way that made it sound exciting or real? Today we're going to practice reading like that. Yesterday we worked on reading smoothly. Today we're going to add expression so our reading sounds natural and interesting. Good readers read with expression and phrasing to help them understand the story. When we read with the right voice and rhythm, it helps us think about what's happening in the text. Okay, I'm going to read this passage to you first, and then we'll do something else. One day when Helen Keller was nearly 2 years old, she developed a raging fever. By the time she woke up from it days later, she had become blind and deaf. Helen's parents couldn't speak to her or show her anything. They had no way to teach Helen, and Helen had no way to communicate. Now I'm going to read it again with expression. Did you understand what the passage was about? Now I'm going to read it again with the way you would use the expression. One day when Helen Keller was nearly 2 years old, she developed a raging fever. By the time she woke up from it days later, she had become blind and deaf. Helen's parents couldn't speak to her or show her anything. They had no way to teach Helen, and Helen had no way to communicate. Why do you think the second reading was easier to understand?
It was slower.
It was slower. Did you hear any expression like when I took a pause or changed the tone in my voice?
Yeah.
The tones, the pauses, and the punctuation, like the exclamation point or the question marks, they help us understand readings better. So when you're reading, even though you're reading these fluency ones, you're reading for accuracy, not how fast you can read. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, now I have two sentences written here, one on this board and one on this one. We'll start with this one. You're gonna practice reading it, and we're gonna practice showing how you would phrase the sentence with the red marker. Can you read the sentence once for me though?
Helen's teacher, Miss Sullivan, was patient and kind.
Did you notice where you took a pause?
Mm-hmm.
So when you scoop sentences, you're doing like this to see that this is the first part. It normally introduces the subject, and then when they have a comma, you need to take a pause. Here they have another comma in this sentence, so when they introduce Miss Sullivan, that would be one scoop by itself, and then the ending is more like a statement, so this all goes together, even though it has a conjunction in the middle. Helen's teacher, pause, Miss Sullivan, pause, was patient and kind. This is normally where we take a breath. How can you tell when your voice should go up and down?
I don't know.
When your voice goes up and down when you stop, or when you come to like quotation marks, when you see them in the story and they have, I'm not sure if the story has any quotation marks, but when somebody's speaking in a book or something that you're reading, or a story, when you see quotation marks like this, it would show that somebody's talking, so your voice should change. But these aren't in the sentence, that's just to show you. Let's try this one. You show me where you would scoop the sentences at. Good. For a long time, Helen did not seem to understand. All right, now we're going to practice the story. Today and every day, you can use your voice to make reading meaningful. During your reading time, practice using punctuation to guide your expression. So when you're reading your stories, in your anime books and stuff like that, if they have pausing, you have to practice it so that it becomes more fluent. We're gonna practice with the same story that you did already, but this time when you read it, try to read with showing the expression instead of reading fast through the story. Whenever you're ready. Oh wait, we're gonna time it for 1 minute, so you only have to read for 1 minute. You're not doing for speed to get to the end of it. I want to hear your expressions in the story. You ready?
One day when Helen Keller was nearly 2 years old, she developed a raging fever. By the time she woke up from it days later, she had become blind and deaf. Helen's parents couldn't speak to her or show her anything. They had no way to teach Helen, and Helen had no way to communicate. Helen grew frustrated and threw violent tantrums, stamping and screaming. Once, in a furious rage, she tipped over her little sister's crib. Helen's parents were deeply concerned. They hired Anne Sullivan, a young teacher, to try to communicate with her with their troubled and angry daughter. Sullivan had a unique approach to trying to teach Helen. She would use her finger to spell out.
That's the time. What did you notice about how your voice changed through the story with the expression? Did you notice any sentences where your voice actually went up and down with the story? What sentence did you notice?
Whenever I said and or.
I noticed right away in the beginning, the very first sentence, when you said, one day when Helen Keller was nearly 2 years old, she developed a raging fever. You emphasized on the word raging because you knew that raging meant like it's something that's like serious. So your voice kind of went up and it got more serious. I also noticed here, I think it's here, once in a furious rage, she tipped over her little sister's crib. You did it again there when you read that one because you knew probably that the word furious meant something serious that you needed to change your voice. I did notice a lot of places that you did it. You did really good. Today we practiced reading with expression and phrasing so our voices matched the meaning of the text. This is important because it helps us understand the story better. For our next lesson, we'll practice using expression with a new passage about animals. Can you press the stop button for me?